Hello, thank you so much for clicking on this video. This will be my breakdown for episode 1 of Moon Knight. So first of all, I love this episode. It was awesome. Not only from the acting, but also really great shots and location here. And it really, the little bit of action that we have, it was quite good. So I'm really looking forward to see more of Moon Knight. So let's get into the breakdown. So we start out with, in the intro, with Arthur Harrow, and there's a lot of references, a lot of alligator things around this episode, especially that's similar to Ammit. So you can see a little bit of alligators in his cane and also in the balance that he has as a tattoo. So it's quite interesting. Now, what is fascinating here is that he breaks the glass, and then the pieces of glass he puts on his slats and shoes, and then he start walking like that, and it's quite you hear the sound of his feet walking with that, and that is a sign that this is a guy you don't want to mess with. So it's quite an introduction. So we move on to Steven. He wakes up and he's tied to the bed, and he has sand around his neck to left footstep, in order that he knows he wakes up to the bed and have the footsteps in it. So also in this episode, Steven does a lot with his mom, and quite interesting the development of that, because we never hear her voice. So he's basically like talking to a recorder or something. So I'm curious to see that development in the upcoming episodes. So he's going to work now. Oscar he leaves his home. Now Oscar Isaac says that he did some research of why it's like to live in a Jewish neighborhood. And frankly, none of the neighborhood in this scene indicates that he was in a Jewish neighborhood. So, and that's a really important part of the character of Moon Knight. So it's quite interesting that Oscar did that research, but then in the actual show that we're seeing here, at least for the first episode, we don't see any indication of that. So they didn't like honor that part of the character here. So he goes to the boss, and he's really sleeping all over a person here, and then he starts to see why is another person is where he's reading a magazine or paper, and everyone in the bus is like really mean to him for no bad reasons. So we see a lot of, so he's walking into the museum. We see a duality here, a lot of reflections throughout this entire episode. So that's one of them. So Steven was into the museum, and this little girl puts gum into a pyramid in the museum. So he started talking to her like that is not great to do that, and he started to tell her about how they prepare the mummies and how they pull off of the organs from inside, except for the heart, because Steven points out that it's needed for judgment, and judgment is a huge theme for Moon Knight here. So then we move on and we met Donna. So Donna is very like angry with Steven because it's always like late and all of that. Even so, that he wants another position, a better position. That is a tour guide in the museum, and Donna is not really giving that to him. So then it comes a tour guide lady to him, and she says to Steven that I was still on for Friday on a steakhouse. So they're going to on a date, and Steven is like really surprised, and he says like, "Are you asking me out?" So it's quite funny because her reaction is like he was teasing or something, but he actually doesn't remember anything of that, asking her out. Even Donna is surprised. So we're moving to the back to the storeroom, and they're working, Steven and Donna here, on artifacts, and Steven is trying to impress Donna in terms of their knowledge about the ancient Egyptian gods. And in order, it says like there's only 7 here, but there are actually 9, because he's really trying to get that tour guide position in the museum. So then he leaves work. Even the security guard doesn't know the quite his name, and we see that little shot of him walking alone. So now this is a reference, I think, for Crowley, a friend of Moon Knight, multiple personalities in the comics, because it really looks like that, similar. So he's basically talking to him, and then when he starts conversation, then he goes out back to home. We see also another reflection here. So he puts sand and the tape on the door, and he has to stay away. Now he's reading about Egypt and the gods, and he's reading about the rift between God and man. Now then he wakes up and he has his jaw broken, and the Khonshu, the Egyptian god, puts a gesture and puts his jaw back. And Kevin Feige always amazing me putting these B and C level characters on the top of A level status, like Khonshu. Quite interesting. So he's in Slovenia, a really beautiful country. Now Steven hears a voice, and that's the voice of F. Murray Abraham, who they have a scene together in Inside Louis, I believe that's the movie, also starring Oscar Isaac. So it's quite a reunion here. So he has Steven has a scarab in his pocket. Now he senses Khonshu behind him. Now then he sees the castle, and he waves off the guy, and the window is broken. Now looks like they cut a little bit of the scenes here in the editing room, because we see a scene of him falling throughout the window in the trailers, but it's not actually in the episode, so it was cut. So then the guy on the window starts shooting him, and he starts running, and it looks like he's running throughout a fantasy land. So Steven goes to town, and they're still chasing him, and then we see again Arthur Harrow, and Ethan Hawke's physical performance here is quite fascinating. So Arthur starts to talk to his people, and he says to them that we are going to create a heaven here on earth, and by getting rid of all the bad people, and he's using his cane and his tattoo to put judgment on people throughout Ome. So we see two examples here, and the first one is this guy, and the tattoo turns green, so it means he's good. And then we see this lady, and the tattoo turns red, which means bad. And she says, I'm a nice person, but Omen doesn't judge you by the past and the present, but also he can see the future and the person you will become. So we can see what happened to Beth. So the lady, she died. Then the guy comes in and he tells the mercenary Steven escape, and he's around the town. So Arthur is very smart, so he starts to speak Egyptian language, I believe, to his people. Only his follower understands. So that makes Steven pops out in the crowd. So then he have Arthur wants the scarab back, and Steven's trying to give it to him, but he's struggling because of Mark. He doesn't want to give it to him. So the followers of Steven, they're trying to take the scarab from him, and then we switch it back to Mark in an instant, and he took all of those people. They basically killed them. So it's quite interesting that Arthur Harrow is fascinating by what is happening here. So I really like the steady frame, the camera behind Steven. Then he was out into a cupcake trap, and then he goes away. And quite interesting because it's like, this is real or this is a rain, a dream, because of the cupcake trap and other things here that doesn't make very real. But then they started chasing him in a car chase, and there's a little bit of green screen that is obviously here when the guy jumps into the cupcake cave. And Mark is not only Steven is not only fighting this guy, but he's also fighting Mark because of for control of the body. So Mark kills the guy and kills the other guys, and then the last two guys, they are down because of CGI avalanche. It's quite fascinating. So then he wakes up. Steven wakes up in his bed, so he thinks everything was a dream. He starts laughing. So then he realized that the fish has two flippers. Now he was like, how the fish go out of flipping? So he goes back to the shop, and the lady in the shop says to him, yeah, I told you were here yesterday. And he says that I wasn't here, and she says, yeah, you were. Now Steven look at the clock and says that the time is wrong, and she says that the fish is wrong, the time is wrong, you're not quite right. Very like that line, quite good. Now, so he's getting ready for his day. So he went to the steak restaurant and waiting. So he decides to call her, and she says that she already ate the steak all by herself on Friday, and he still believes that it's Friday when it's actually Sunday. So it's been 2 days and he doesn't remember anything of that. So it really breaks my heart, and some really best acting from Oscar Isaac. So even though he's a vegan, he decides to choose a steak to eat. Then later on, he's walking to his room. He throws out the flowers away, and he has some chocolates with him. And he calls out his mother and telling her about her day, about his day, and how well he grew. So now he's in his apartment. He's his own. He gives chocolate to the fish, which is weird. And then he drops the chocolate on the floor, and he realizes that someone has been moving the table. So he finds out a broken thread. So he's removed it. So he finds a flipper phone with a charger and a key. So and he has all these Mrs. call from Lida. So he started looking through the phone, and she called him right at that moment, and he answered, and she says to him, what's with the accent, and he was like, I just find this phone, and she called him Mark, and he says, what do you call me, Mark? So the line, like she hung out, or the line was cut off. So Mark decided to do something about this. So, and on the reflection of the bathroom, he's shaking his head on him. So everything goes crazy. So he Steven picks up the key, and he went to the elevator on this, and one of the floor that is open, there is Khonshu, and came right in front to stop the elevator door, but it's a fake gun. It's just a woman. And then he came back to the 5th floor in the elevator. Then he turned around, and there is Khonshu. So he wakes up in the bus, and then he sees Khonshu in the street for a moment. He gets out of the bus, and who's in the bus? Arthur Harrow. And he went into the machine. He starts to talk to the security guy, and hey, you see this suspicious person here, don't let him through. And the security guy says, like, this is a public museum, so many ghosts that coming through. So then we see Arthur Harrow again. So and he's like, you really do work here in here. Now Arthur Harrow is also trying to figure out what is going on here and who this person is, and he's not really nervous about this, even after all he has seen. So Steven knows that, and he even has the security guard on his side. So Steven knows that he's trapped, and Arthur Harrow talks about Ammit, and he's like, Ammit feels like, why would you wait till the guard was destroyed to take out the weeds? And he's also said, isn't your voice in your head menacing or madness? So then Steven is getting judged, and he can never be judged, and Ammit doesn't know what to do with him. So it was quite interesting. Arthur Harrow not it's the first time that happens, so he doesn't know what to really do. So he says to Steven that he has chaos inside of him. So Steven was awake, and he says, let him go. And then the museum is closed, and the blessing cleaning up, and Steven is being followed. Now Steven doesn't know that, but you can see on the reflection that Mac knows that he's being followed, and it looks like an ancient dog on some kind, but no. So, and Steven is really trying to escape that, and that thing is really fast, and he has like these glowing eyes. So he tries to escape, and he goes into the bathroom, and then he starts to talking to Mark on the reflection in the mirror, and Mark says, let me take control, I can save us. And it's quite interesting because I believe that Oscar Isaac used his brothers for this scene, so it's quite fascinating thing. So eventually, Steven lets Mark take over, and then we caught up by outside the bathroom, and we can see the ancient dog or the creature trying to escape, and Moon Knight reading, fighting her, and beating the crap out of that. So it basically destroy or kill the creature, and then when he turns around, we sees this full look of Moon Knight and a close up into his face with his glowing eye, and it was just a fascinating. And that's the end of the episode. Directed by Mohara Diep and written by Jeremy Slater. Fascinating duo here. So yes, I'm loving Moon Knight. So that's my breakdown. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of the episode. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, consider subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.